Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining tonight for a very, very special live stream here on the channel. This is Steven from Craving Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. And speaking of horror, I have someone who is not a horror to have on the show. In fact, I'm very honored to have tonight as my guest Scream 96 alum and cast member, you know her as Girl in the Bathroom. Please welcome right now Miss Nancy Ann Ritter. Welcome, Nancy.
Hello, hello. I loved your intro music. I was dancing along with it, and then the door opening was very creepy and scary. I was going to run out of the room, but
Well, I'm glad you stayed.
but it's nice to be here. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. It truly is my honor tonight to have you. I'm just was so thrilled when you accepted my invitation, and I have been looking forward to this night for days and days now. So this is going to be a lot of fun. I really believe it's going to be a great time.
And I
And
get I do. Oh, I
uh
totally interrupted you. I
no,
get
no.
nervous with the live ones, but I'll try to be. I do so many, but they're recorded, so I'll try to be. I'll try to be as cool as a cucumber.
Oh, of course, you're going to be great. I have no doubt about it. No, you're a pro, no doubt about it whatsoever. Well, that's awesome. Well, again, we're just going to have a conversation. We're just going to have a good time. And for everyone here who's in the chat, we will try to make some time later on in the live stream for your comments and questions. And some of you have submitted some questions to me on my channel as well. So I will try to get to as many as possible. But I do want to also say that if we do not get to your questions tonight, please don't take it personal. It's just a matter of time and content that we're talking about. And so I have a lot of questions for Nancy. We have a lot of great things to talk about. So, but we will try to get as many in as possible. So just be gracious if we don't make it to your question tonight. Okay, there's no way we'll get to every question. It's just not really possible because they'll continue to keep coming. So we have to go like, and Nancy and I were talking about before. She did a 7 hour, 7 hour session at one point. So that probably would have to be tonight to get to everybody's questions, but we're going to give our best. So I think that Nancy, what I'd like to do is just really start off with maybe kind of some background. I'd like to ask you to open things up. At what point in your life did you first know that you wanted to be an actor? When did that passion come to you? At what age and what time of your life?
I was 9 years old, and I grew up in Alexandria, Virginia, just outside DC. So Washington DC is a great art has a great art scene and theater scene. So my parents were so great; they took me to tons of plays at the Kennedy Center, uh, just all over the place. And I saw the first like two musicals I remember seeing were Oliver and The King and I with Yul Brynner. And I remember,
Nice.
well, with the production of Oliver, I remember saying to my mom, like at intermission, like, I'd like to be up there with those actors. How do I get myself up there? So that was how it all started. And then when I auditioned for my first play, I just was very smitten and excited. So then I just kept auditioning for play after play after play, and that carried me all the way through junior high school, and just getting to do wonderful plays with adult actors. And then by the time I was 14, I knew about Duke Ellington School of the Arts, which is a performing arts high school in
Mm-hmm.
Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I wanted more of an immersive acting experience than my neighborhood school.
Mm-hmm.
So I auditioned for Duke Ellington and thankfully got in. And then from 14 to 18, we would have like our academics 8:30 to 1, and then our all of our acting classes from 1 to 5, and then rehearsals at night for different productions. So and those rehearsals were usually like 10 or 11 p.m. So we we really became like brother and sister, my classmates and I. And it was a really
Yeah.
small school, so it was just totally immersive, so exciting. And then from there, well, and also what was exciting with Duke Ellington, local directors from like the Kennedy Center and other professional directors would, if they needed a teenage kid for a play, they would come audition us at Duke Ellington. So I got to do a couple plays at the Kennedy Center, a little voiceover cartoon where they flew us to New York City, and other different
Wow.
professional theaters. Oh, yes, it was so exciting. And then I went to Northwestern University, which has good theater program outside of Chicago. And so that's how, oh, hi, Jaden. Hi,
Well,
Arthur.
we're getting a lot of people are very excited to see you tonight, Nancy. That's a lot of. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just every
No,
once in a while I like just to
I
kind of
know.
throw in and let everybody know that we're seeing them.
Oh,
We're
yeah,
seeing them.
that's exciting. So that's how it all started. So I came from the professional theater world. So when I moved,
Hmm.
I was always a purist, and I thought I would go straight to New York from Northwestern University. So I was very surprised when 2 weeks after I graduated, I was going to the opposite coast to Los. I was like,
That's
what am I
right.
doing?
Yes.
Uh, to Los Angeles, and so that was kind of a shock that I did that, and then Scream came along. Right when I think right before my birthday or at my birthday, so I was 22 or 23, and then Scream came, and that was uh my first movie. I had only done little industrial training films for the Department of Labor in Washington D.C. when I was in high school.
Nice.
So that's how everything started.
Wow, that's awesome. I do want to acknowledge real quick, we got a super chat here from Colby who says, hashtag Stu lives. 'Cause let's face it, baby, these days you got to have a
Gotta
sequel.
have a sequel.
Oh, you got to have a
Court likes
sequel.
those.
Yeah, I love it. That's right. That's so great. Thank you, Colby, for the super chat. Really appreciate it. And Nancy, we'll get to a little stew talk later. One of
Okay.
the traditions on my channel here is that I call myself the conductor of the stew train because I'm all about Stu Mocker returning, and so we'll get to that a little bit later for sure. We'll have to
Okay.
touch on that.
Okay.
And we got a few more folks saying hello. Jen Warner, who is a faithful member of the channel, says hello.
Hi,
And Arthur from
Arthur.
Brazil checking in tonight. And we have a lot more folks here. And guys, we do see you all. We appreciate this. And Nancy, I want to ask you something now. So you kind of touched on your experiences there. So let me ask you, after you completed your education formally, what was your first official role? You talked about, some of the things you had done previously, but what would you say would be the first official acting role, like in a film, or you mentioned the short films as well earlier. Would that be what it was, or would it be a different project you would call your first, like,
First,
quote official?
as far as movies go,
Yeah, yeah, as
yeah.
far as movies go.
Okay, so that would be Scream,
Okay,
and I was yes. So that was Scream, and
okay.
that's why I was so nervous on the set, and it really is thanks to Julie Plec, Plec. I always like to say she
Yeah,
was Wes Craven's assistant at the time, and she
yes.
and I went to Northwestern University, and she reached out to me just randomly, like on a Tuesday, and asked how tall I was, and I said I'm 5'7", and she said that Wes would be screen testing 5 actresses for the lead role of Sydney, and that the average height of the 5 actresses was 5'7". So would I want to come in that Saturday to be the Sydney stand-in for that on audition day?
Wow.
Um, so that's how all that started. Do you want to know how Wes Craven how I got to read for the bathroom girl?
Well,
Or do
yeah,
you
actually, this
okay.
is great. This is great. And I was actually going to ask you about that as well, because I was going to ask you how you heard about the audition for the part.
Okay.
And yeah, no, please do. Please tell us how this all transitioned to work to the
Okay.
role that you had.
So so I literally thought I would just it was $75. I thought I'd be in and out. It had no expectations like, oh, this is gonna be my time to razzle dazzle them. And so the first like 3 actresses went. Nev Campbell was one of the actresses that day. She was, of course, amazing and
Hmm.
perfect for Sydney. So that was exciting, and she was super. I just stayed on the sidelines, but she actually talked to me and was super nice. And so basically, just to stay out of the way, I stood behind Wes Craven because he had a good view of his monitor. And then
Hmm.
the 2 scenes, and they'd set like a mini makeshift set. And the 2 scenes were the first scene was a scene where Skeet crawls through the window, and they have that little rated G nightgown, nightgown action.
Yeah.
And then the second scene was when the killer first calls Nev Campbell. And
Okay.
halfway through the day, so I'd just been watching the actresses and just enjoying each actress had a different take and spin
Mm-hmm.
on Sydney. So that was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wes Craven all of a sudden turned around to me and he goes, "Do you know the lines to the scene?" And I said, because I'd been watching, I said, "Yes, yes, I do." And he gave me a little script that was just on like a little mini notepad, just for those two scenes rather
Okay.
than the big unwieldy script. And so he went to check on one of the actresses and he said, "Well, here, read the lines." And then he said, "I want you to play Sydney in the two scenes." Because he said, "I want to be able to move the camera around and set camera angles and lighting angles." And then he had it, and I was like, "Oh, Lord, okay." And
Wow. I bet, man.
and and then he had a male stand in for Skeet's part for that first bedroom scene. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think the male stand in that day went on to play Drew Barrymore's poor boyfriend who gets gutted by the
Stephen
swimming
Orth.
pool, Stephen Orr. I
Yes.
think so.
Oh, interesting.
Um,
Okay.
so, and again, all of this is if I can remember correctly because it was 25 years ago.
Sure,
Uh,
sure.
so I did Sydney, and the fun thing was to see what the how different the line. Well, the lines were all basically the same. I just remember one line when Nev Campbell in the actual movie, she says to Skeet, "So you thought you'd sneak in my room and we'd have a little bump, like hump hump, but bump." And I thought that phrase, I'd never heard that phrase for
Yeah.
intercourse, so I thought
Right?
it was hilarious. And so I remember when I did that line, I wanted to have fun with it, with bump. And when I finished the two scenes, Wes Craven beelined up to me and he shook my hand and he said, "That was excellent." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then he went to exit. We were in a big warehouse space and he exited the space. And as he exited, he said, "Have a read for one of the bathroom girls." And that's how that all started.
Oh,
And Lisa,
okay.
yeah, so Lisa Beach came. She's the casting director. She came, and she's an amazing casting director. She's cast tons of movies. She came running over and she was like, "Hey, once we finish casting the lead parts, we're going to start bringing actors in for the smaller roles." So
Okay.
then it was funny. It was just like once Wes kind of gave his little stamp of approval, then I was suddenly visible in the room for the rest of the day with
I
I think there were
bet.
two more actresses at the end of the day. So that's how all that unfolded.
Wow. That's awesome. That is a great behind the scenes that information. That is so cool. I mean, because you always wonder what the process is. Like how do you get contacted? How do you go? Where do you go? Like what's involved? And it's so cool that you were able to also. I think it really put you in a great spot because you were able to observe and you had those lines down and you were ready.
Yeah.
So when Wes Craven says, do you know these lines?" You were ready. You were like, "Yes, let's
Yeah.
go." And
I think, and I was so scared when he looked at me because no one really, understandably, had looked. I hadn't had eye contact with anyone the whole I think, of the day, so I was like, "Oh,
I can
he's
imagine.
looking at me."
Yeah.
Um, but they initially had me read for the cheerleader, which Leonora
Hmm.
Shelfo played, who who
Yes.
she was so perfect and so just perfectly maniacal as the cheerleader. I originally auditioned for the cheerleader. I was terrible. I think it will go down as probably my worst audition ever. And so that's how that started. And then
Okay.
I think they initially, again, if I remember correctly, I think they called, and after I auditioned for the cheerleader, I think they said, "Wes really wants to use you in the movie." They said it might be a different scene than the bathroom scene, and maybe it might have been that the party scene at Stu's house. There were two girls, a blonde girl
Hmm.
and a curly
Yep.
curly brunette girl
Hmm.
who are fans of Courtney Cox. It might have been one of those two, and then randomly again the production director called again, like on a Tuesday, and he said, "Wes has moved up the shooting schedule of the bathroom scene. Would I want to play the girl in the bathroom?" And I was like, "Let me get back to you." No, I was
Right?
I gotta think about that. Um,
That
and
is
so I said
awesome.
yes. And he had me on the plane the very next day, like on a Wednesday, that flew into out of Burbank into Oakland. And then I think we had a day, we had that, we got there Wednesday, Thursday, and then we were on the set by that Friday. So it happened very quickly.
Wow, that is fast. I bet it had to be exhilarating though, didn't it, to get the call? And I mean, I was going to ask you one of my questions like, what did it feel like, and to have to know, I guess, that you're in a Wes Craven movie. Like, not only is it a major motion picture, but it's by an icon of horror. This is a legendary filmmaker, and you are in his movie, and not only is like one of the and it would have been great to be in at Stu's house, but you have a speaking role, which is even better because those girls did not. So you actually have the ability to not only be on camera in a rescue movie, but have a speaking role and an important role because this scene I've always felt since the first time I watched the movie in the theaters, January of 1997. I'm a diehard Legacy fan.
Um,
I go back all the way to the beginning.
how old were you in 1997?
Oh gosh, I was 22 when it came out. I was
Oh,
22.
okay. So we
So
were rough. I was okay. So I was a year older than you. Oh, okay. Cool. Cool.
So we're right
Yeah,
there,
we're right there. Yeah.
right there together. And I remember seeing it in January of '97, and it was completely blown away by the movie. And I remember, but that scene was so powerful because it was that moment where you connect with Sydney in a way because of how the two of you interacted and the comments that were said. It was so powerful to me, and and Sydney's emotional there, of course, and as a viewer, you connect to how cruel people are. And every time that scene is, you see, even now, it's like, man, people can be so mean, and it stuck with me. And it's a powerful scene. So I first want to say applause to you. Well, I mean, great job because it was great, and the both of y'all nailed that part absolutely perfect. I don't think it could have been done any better. So just absolutely love that scene, and I'm so thankful that Wes saw that in you and that you were able to be there and your presence was there, and
Well,
it was great.
well, thank you. And Leonora, as the blonde cheerleader, she made
Yes,
my job so easy because she was so psycho.
she
And I
was.
never had seen, I remember she and I rehearsed the scene in her hotel bathroom. Uh, and we started the scene in her bathtub, and we were using the bathtub as our stalls, and then coming out. And I never had seen. I know people remember when she sticks her finger in her mouth for
Yes,
the lipstick. I remember I
yes.
was like, I've never seen a girl do that before. That's so cool. Um, so then on the day of shooting, she just made it so easy for me to be like, what is my psycho friend saying about poor Nev, whose mom has been murdered, and now Casey Becker and Stephen Orth, and Nev is
Hmm.
going through everything that she's going through
There,
in the
yes.
first. Oh, and those are my mini backpacks. So my mini backpack, and I gave Leonora the black mini backpack.
Nice. That's awesome.
And I think that's my belt, but I'm not sure. But everything else they provided. Um, but so then the cheerleader just sang all the deranged, mean stuff
Yes.
and those lines. Then it just made it made me being able to react to her just very naturally and in the moment. And then what makes it, oh, that's just beautiful.
That shot
The
is so perfect.
the pink that they cut my bangs that day. I'm so embarrassed by that haircut, but
Hey, it's still better than the bangs in Scream 3 with Courtney Cox. Let's be honest.
that's
I adore Courtney Cox, but those bangs,
those little ones.
those little tiny, little baby bangs.
Yeah, the baby. I think I've done that before with bangs, and yeah, it's not the most. It's not the most. It's a very interesting look,
It is. It is.
and she's beautiful, so
Oh, yes.
she could pull anything off. But what with my little part, what I thought was kind of fun was Wes kept wanting, like, when I say you're evil and the cut some slack, she watched her mom get butchered.
Yeah,
Like, I love how I'm trying to be a little nice
you
and a little
are.
defending Nev,
Hmm.
but just how still and regular, like, girl talk, like, cut some slack, she watched her mom get butchered. Like, it just is like they're talking about something so horrendous, but
Right.
I'm still using like the butchered word. And um but yeah, Wes
And it
just
messed
kept,
her up royally, she said in
yeah,
response to you. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, dang, man.
That her whole monologue, a fan the other day on Facebook or something put her whole monologue up, and the way Leonora does that whole monologue, the teen suicide is out this year, yeah,
Oh,
and it messed her up royally, like all of that, so good. And then you see poor Nev's reaction. She's
man.
already dealt with Skeet right before that
Mm,
scene, and then the
yes.
pranksters running through the hallways. So she's just had it. She's
Oh,
had
yeah.
it rough going in the first half of that film. Yeah.
Absolutely. But I have to say that your last line was what I felt was it was my voice. It was the voice of the viewer. You're pathetic. Well, you say. I don't want to say your line. You
Okay.
can say it much
No,
better than I
no, you
can.
say it. You say it. You say it.
Okay, okay. Well, I didn't put you on the spot, but yeah, when you said you're pathetic, and I'm just like, yeah, you are. You just that you summed it up perfectly to end that whole emotion of that scene before, and then of course Nev comes out and she's looking in the mirror and what does she do? She says, pathetic.
Pathetic. Yeah.
And it's like it's just a lot of weight. It's a weighty scene. It's a heavy scene and a powerful scene. It really is. And so I just, man, it really was. You really were the voice of everyone out there who has a heart, because you were trying to be like, well, hold on a minute, let's. But she was all bent on just no, not having any of that. She watches Ricky, man. She gets her
Yeah,
stuff from
Ricky
Ricky.
Lake.
Where do you get this stuff?
When I first saw it at the cast and crew screening, I was like, why is this cheerleader even my friend, even my friend, like
Right.
with my high waisted khakis. And I thought, I mean, of course, it's the little character. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm in with the blonde cheerleader. Um,
Exactly.
but it makes me laugh, like we're on such different wavelengths.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, Blake has a super chat and wants to say you're amazing, Nancy.
what?
Aw.
And what's the Blake? What's the $5 next to your name?
Oh, those are super chats. So like people
Yes.
can do a super chat here to support the channel, and
Oh,
uh,
okay.
and so whenever when anyone who does a super chat, I get a notification, and I make
Oh,
sure that I get their questions up for us so that we can talk about that.
oh, cool.
And in fact, and Gambino says here he's got one. For Nancy, so I just want to say I'm a huge supporter. I'm currently at school in Toronto for acting at Netflix. Nancy, what's a good tip you could recommend for my career or personal skills? That's an interesting question.
So at work for my career. Okay. Oh, okay, that's a good question. So career wise, well, as far as and then Stephen, you cut me off if I go too long. As far as
Oh, no
getting this
worries.
question, this is I
Yeah.
haven't been asked this question. Career wise, I do know, being the age that I am now, what you put into it is what you'll get out of it. So even though I had an agent in both Los Angeles, my agent died in LA. He had a cocaine problem.
Oh man.
So then when my agent died, you really have to. And then when I moved to New York, I had a really great agent who stayed alive. But even with a great agent, you still really have to be your own agent as well. And I remember telling my agent in New York, he was, which was amazing. He was sending me in on amazing film projects, TV, but he was always sending me out on big roles. And his name was John Woodward, and I said, John, I'll do one line. Um, you don't have to just send me out on lead roles. So just advocating for my, and he was like, okay. And so advocating for yourself would be kind of the number one thing, so that even when you get an agent, that you're not just putting all of the all of the weight on the agent's shoulders, that you're continuing to advocate for yourself and put yourself out there, So that I really learned just over many, many years. I was 5 years in LA and 12 years in New York, and I'll be moving back up to New York in about a year. And then personal skills wise, oh, and one thing for the career, one thing I really did learn, especially well,
Hmm.
first LA and New York, is not every role you're going to be right for. You might be called in like I was called in to play the cheerleader. I'm so wrong for that role. But uh, if casting directors liked my audition and thought I was a good actor, they would say to my agent, "Oh, we really like meeting Nancy Ann Ritter. We'd love to, she wasn't quite right for this project, but we'd love to bring her back in for our next project." So understanding that you're not taking the rejection so personally, that I mean, there's no way I'm right for every character. Like if they ask for you to come, they ask me to come read for to play you, Stephen.
Hmm.
uh I can come in and do my best Stephen, but if you walk in, you are Stephen, so you're going to be a
Hmm.
lot more authentic and real. So
Yeah.
understanding that and just having a thick skin and knowing that yeah, that you're not going to fit right into every single character. And then personal skills, with the nice guy who asked that question, personal skills, well, it is great to have like on my resume the skills I have. Like I can play the piano. I played a lot of sports when I was younger. Not I've never been asked. I played tennis, soccer, and basketball, but I've never I've never been asked to do that in a movie. um, and then well, I can understand and speak Spanish. I know they're never going to ask me to do that, but those are the skills I have listed on my resume. But yeah, the
Yeah.
more you flesh out skill wise what you can do, I know they're always interested in knowing what dialects you can do. I can do, well, I can do Southern because my parents are Southern, and then Irish
Nice.
from in Belfast from doing a play. Um, but yeah, increasing your ability to do lots of different dialects is definitely a good skill to have.
Hmm.
And just training, like some of my favorite actors didn't have any training. They're just go on instinct and are amazing. And so it's training for me was really helpful, but it doesn't have to be that for everybody.
Hmm.
So yeah.
That's great. Wow, that's great information. Thanks for sharing that because, there are a lot of people, and that was one of the questions I was actually going to ask you as well later on. Was this, any advice you have? That's wonderful advice for everyone who's looking to get into the business, and I know that, of course, I'm not in the business, of course, myself, but I know just from stories, reading bios, and I know and talking to people that it's very difficult. All right, it's a very difficult process, and the more ammunition that you give for yourself, the more versatile, the more tools in your toolbox, I guess,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The more likely you are to put yourself in better positions to be picked. And
Yeah.
so that was great advice. Jack Stannis is coming in saying the bathroom scene is classic. Thanks, Nancy. Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you, Jack. That's so nice.
So true. It is so classic. Now we have a question also that I had received prior to us starting our live stream, that you touched on some great memories earlier on set. So you may have already said it, and that's fine, but there may be some more. So let's see. The Night Watch Zone. My good friend Knight at the Night Watch Zone. He gave us this question. He says, "My question is, does she have a fond memory or moment on set with Wes?"
Well, oh, well, okay. The moment on set, yes, I have a fond memory off set. And then my favorite moment, even though, well, I was so nervous on set, but I'll never forget. They had done Leonora's close ups, and then they put the camera up into where my mirror was so that the camera was the mirror. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember, I remember Wes came and he was outside of the bathroom. So he came into the bathroom and he goes, "Nancy Ann, you look grotesque." He said, "It looks like you're playing to a Broadway theater of like 1,000 people." And so he just kept saying, "Shave it, shave it, shave it." And I knew exactly like, I loved that he was that blunt, and I
Yes.
knew exactly what he meant. So it was really a very helpful direction to have. And then just know, because like I said, I'd never, except for the little Department of Labor training films, I just had
Hmm.
no concept of, and being so new to Los Angeles, I hadn't really done any on camera auditions. So it was so new for me.
Wow.
So his direction was so good. And he kind of had a little smirk when he said it. And oh, there he is. There he is.
Oh, miss him. Rest in peace, Wes. Yes.
Like, yep, rest in peace. So that, and then, yeah, then he would coach me through the whole rest of it.
Hmm.
And yeah, the "you're evil" line he wanted really soft. And so just, I wanted to make him so happy. And I mean, I wanted to make him happy and then just try my best to be in the moment. And Leonora had already done, the cheerleader had already done movies, so she had really made me feel comfortable that day. And then
Hmm.
my other favorite moment with Wes off the set was, I they flew me back up for the wrap party when they had finished completed filming the film, and we all got pretty wasted. The party was like at a jazz club, and I'd never been to a party with like big celebrities. So I was like, let me go to the open bar and get some vodka.
There you go.
And so yeah, I was pretty wasted. So somehow when we left the club, and that party was super fun with everybody, we all ended up back in somebody's hotel room that literally just had two double beds, and we were all in there like sardines. And people, wasn't an orgy, but like everyone, we were lying on the beds with our clothes on, um, hanging out. Like I remember Nev and Wes and Wes's producing partner, Marianne Madalena, they were all
Yes.
kicking back. Somehow I ended up with a pack of cigarettes and I was smoking away, and I don't smoke. But I was enjoying it that night. And
That's
Wes
awesome.
and Wes came up and he was like, "Can I have a cigarette?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So just that little moment, I don't, it just was such a vivid moment. And giving him a cigarette from a random pack that I don't know how it ended up in my
That's
hand.
awesome.
Um, but he just was so, just in general, he's so gentle, so nice. He had no, not pretentious at all, no airs,
Hmm.
not what you would think of like a stereotypical Hollywood director being. And I, growing up in the theater, I, I had had really amazing directors and calm directors. And then
Hmm.
sometimes in a play, I'd have a director with a lot of histrionics, and which I didn't mind. But it was
Hmm.
just neat to see just how, like, he's this big horror director, and he couldn't be so different from what I imagined he would be like.
Wow. That's so great, and what a legacy. Because I've heard like Nev and Courtney and David. They've talked about him in the same exact manner that you're referring to him in, and how gentle he was, and how and just how a great person, a great person he was. And it's what a legacy to leave, isn't it? Because as to your point, I mean, there's so many that we could bring up now, and I won't, but that have a really bad legacy. They left a
Yeah,
really poor legacy of them as human beings, right? Not just as maybe great filmmakers, but not the best human beings. But the fact that Wes was both was really, 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 really impressive. I mean, that
yeah,
was really awesome to hear. And they always say be careful when you meet your heroes, because the kind of thing. But I love hearing that from you and from the other cast members, that really is, Wes was really, that he was genuine. He
yeah,
was a genuine man. And it sounded like just a great director, and the way he directed you, the way you were describing that was just. I mean, I'm not an actor, but I would imagine being one. That's what exactly you want to hear, right?
yeah.
That's what you want, because like they say, you can't be held responsible for not hitting goals if you don't know what they are, right? So
Right.
if
Yeah,
you know what they want, or what he wants in this case, then it helps you perform, like you said, to what he
yeah.
wanted to be. And that's just awesome. It's awesome to hear that, you
Yeah,
know.
just not. I've never responded well. Acting teachers and directors, the nice game, like if they're playing
Hmm.
nice or they're not direct with what they need or specific,
Hmm.
that's always really hard for me and probably for most actors. So with him just being very direct and very clear, and not dressing it up in little niceties, that's, I've always responded well to And not that he was doing tough love, but I've always
Yeah.
responded well with acting teachers and
Hmm.
particularly my acting teachers who were always really, really tough.
Hmm.
I actually really appreciated that because that's how I was going to get better. So,
Well, that's right. And I think it also shows a level of respect for you as an actor. Because like to come to you and say, Nancy, I need this. You need to cut this back. He's coming to you with the expectation of you can deliver. Like he's confident in you he brought the right person in, and right. And I think
well,
that's 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 wonderful.
no,
And
I hope,
obviously he did. I mean, obviously he did. Because you were
I hope
nailed it.
so.
It was
I hope
great.
so. I was so nervous the whole time, but yeah, his specificity with what he needed, and I was still so nervous and insecure, but I hope. I mean, I
Hmm.
guess we didn't end up on the cutting room. The girl in bathroom didn't end up on the cutting room floor. um,
Absolutely. Yes.
so I'm glad, so I'm glad I got to still be in it with the cheerleader, and
Hmm.
so that was because yeah, you never know
Hmm.
when they invite you to the cast and crew screening what's going to be in if you're
It's
even going
true.
to make it in the film or not.
Yes, absolutely, and I'm so glad this movie would not have been, and it's such an iconic, legendary film. My favorite film, period. And I just can't imagine it without that scene. Like if you were just to go now and just cut that scene out, it would be missing something. It would be missing a big chunk to me. And so I'm so thankful, A, that he did leave the scene in, and that, two, it was so well performed by you and Leonora. You both did such an amazing job. And I will tell you this, if you are nervous inside, nothing on the outside shows it. I mean completely honest with you. You look very natural, very comfortable, like you're just talking to your friend in the bathroom. That's exactly what it looks like. So I was completely believed every bit of it. So it was great.
Well, I'm so glad because I wish people could have been there that day to see just okay, they didn't like how our you could hear the bam of the stall door when we each came out, but for some reason I guess it was making too loud of a sound, so they put a crew guy behind me in the stall which had a toilet, but there wasn't a lot of depth. So because he was behind me, he had to hold me by the back of my that beautiful purple sweater, so by my collar, because with him being in there, I was kind of pushing the door forward. And so then when it was
Interesting.
my turn to come out and say, "Well, what Sydney want with Steve? She has her own bubble boyfriend Billy," then he would let my collar go and I would come out. But it was very hard to
Wow.
make that look natural. And then they put like I had only ever known about tape marks being on the floor, like hit your mark. Um, they had like three marks. So they had the tape marks, but then for our close-ups, they put plywood on each of our sinks, so that if our stomachs hit against the edge of the plywood, we would know that we were bent forward too much.
Wow.
So to uh, bring it back. And then they had red tape dangling from the ceiling. So I literally felt like I felt like inside. I'm glad. I mean, so much of the coverage is on Leonora, which is perfect. But I literally felt like I was in a straitjacket because I just didn't want to make any
Wow.
wrong movement.
Man.
So yeah,
How intricate. I mean, I never would have imagined that. It looks so, I never think of things like that. That's incredible that all this is happening and we don't ever see on the
yeah,
finished product,
yeah,
And
and
man, I would never have guessed that in a million years that you guys had like certain spaces you exactly had to be in
yeah,
perfectly because it looks so natural. It's like you're just walking up, you're not really paying attention to anything except each
yeah,
other.
yeah.
Wow, well done.
The,
Wow.
the crew guy in the bath, the stall, that's the stall. Well, probably is my favorite memory because he was a big guy straddling the toilet and then holding. I mean that definitely actually. Even though I was so nervous, I was like, "This is hilarious." Because
That is
I think Leonora
incredible.
had a guy in her stall too, so it was just very funny. Yeah,
You know what? When I see that scene tonight, I'm gonna go back and watch that scene now tonight again, knowing that there's someone behind you both. It's just nuts. I never
yeah.
would have. That's
And
so cool.
holding us by the collar
Yes,
and
and holding you
letting
by
go. Like,
the just
I'm glad
great.
I didn't like trip out because you really see Leonora, especially her with the camera. You really see her exit out,
Yes.
and you don't see the guy behind her. So I'd have to ask her, was there a guy behind you like me? Because if you watch that scene, you
Hmm.
can't see. So I'll have to
Yeah.
ask her. Yeah.
And it could be movie magic, you know,
It could be,
like
yeah,
some movie magic working in there.
yeah.
So let me ask you, on that bathroom scene, how many takes? Was it a one take and it was done? Or how many takes did it take to get that 2 minute, 3 minute scene, whatever the total time there?
Well, it was, so, I mean, not, I didn't record it in my journal later. It wasn't that many,
Hmm.
because I feel like gosh, I feel like maybe we started at noon because we had lunch. They had just finished filming Henry Winkler's getting stabbed scene, and he had lunch with us. And then
Nice.
he was done for the day. So I feel like, well, if we had lunch, that would have been like at 12. We arrived on the set, I mean, to the location earlier. Um,
Okay.
uh, but so yeah, we probably maybe started shooting at 12:30 or 1, or uh, yeah, maybe 1 o'clock, and everything was already set up, lighting wise, everything. We waited outside a little bit of the bathroom before we went in to start shooting. I feel like maybe we were done. I mean, again, with the 25 years, and I'd have to ask Leonora if she remembers better, but I feel like maybe we were done by 7 or 8. Like it went
Okay.
by really quickly. Uh, and it didn't feel like that many takes. I know he did the wide shot. There's a few wide shots he
Hmm.
did. He probably spent the longest on the close-ups,
Okay.
and then also I'm assuming it went quicker because Nev Campbell filmed her reaction shots on a different day. So the killer, I
Ah.
mean, so the guy, there's always some people think the killer in the bathroom's a prankster, or is it, I know it can't be Billy, but is it Stu? But anyway,
Yes.
he was,
What's your opinion? I got to ask your opinion. We got
well,
real quick. What do you
the,
think?
the fans always think, well, I want to believe that I know it can't be Billy because that
Right.
she leaves him and runs to the bathroom. I
Hmm.
want to believe that it's Stu because then it just makes it far scarier. But a lot of the fans say they think it's a prankster.
Yes.
Um,
I'd lean that way because he didn't have a knife. That's the only thing.
so
There's
did
no
he
knife
not when
visible.
he oh right, he just comes out
Just comes out with
like
his
that.
hands, and that's the only reason I kept thinking prankster. That's what I've always thought.
Okay, okay,
But
yeah, no,
is that your opinion? I'm gonna go on record for everyone who's watching. They're dying to know. In fact, someone sent me the question. Reagan sent me a question asking this specific question about this. So now that it came up, in fact, I'll give him some props here. He sent me this in. Do you know? Yes. So who is it in there? He he wants to settle the debate basically with you with your
you
thoughts on
know,
it.
Reagan, I wish, I actually wish I knew. I don't know because I
Okay.
wasn't there. So I don't know who was, I mean, as far as uh, just who they were using that day, just if they had a crew guy in the
Hmm.
costume that day in as Ghostface. And I don't know who, as far as Kevin Williamson and Wes, who it was supposed to be story wise.
Okay.
I never knew that. Um, because I'm so gullible, I just assumed
Hmm.
all these times I've seen it, I've just assumed, oh, it's probably Stu. Um, just because it seemed so real. But I
Yeah, it
agree
does.
that he didn't have a knife. He makes that awful like screech, not screeching, but that scary sound when he comes out.
Yes. Yes, he
Um,
does.
so, and then as far someone else asked this, I want to believe at Tatum's house that it's Stu or Billy
Okay.
and in the grocery store. But then another fan thought that it wouldn't be Stu or Billy both in the woods at Tatum's house or the
Hmm.
grocery store, that they maybe wouldn't allow themselves, that it could be risky to get caught
Do you get
in
caught?
broad
Okay.
daylight in the grocery store where you see that reflection of
Hmm.
Ghostface. What do you think as far as Tatum's house and the grocery store?
Okay. Well, and this is one of those things where when you get new information later, you look back on things.
Yeah.
So after having seen all of the films, I tend to think that that may actually be Roman Bridger, who could actually be keeping an
Oh,
eye on because he set the plan in motion with Maureen and a year earlier. So I've often held the thought of what if that's actually Roman who's just keeping an eye on things, making sure that this happens and Billy follows through with the plan. That was a thought. Now, a lot of people disagree with that. That's just always been a thought that I've had since we got Scream 3. Prior to that, I felt like it was definitely one of them. Prior to knowing about Roman, I thought it
Yeah.
was one of them because the way I mean, they're literally stalking them. They're
Yeah.
literally stalking Sydney, and
Yeah.
so I was always of the opinion it was Billy or Stu
Yeah.
until
Me too.
until Scream 3. So, what do you think, Nancy? Do you think Roman Bridger could have been there, or do you think that that's reaching a little bit?
Oh gosh. So I've only seen, of course, I've seen Scream, and I've only seen Scream 2. I haven't
Oh,
seen Scream 3 or 4. I know
fair.
there's a Roman character.
Yes. Okay.
But I feel so badly. I
No,
haven't,
no, it's
not,
fine.
I do want to see 3 and 4, but I just haven't seen them yet.
No worries, no worries. And I was going to ask you later. I'm going in reverse. I was actually going to ask you later if you'd seen any of the sequels. Then I was going to, but you know what? We're going with the conversation. It's all good. So
Okay.
we're just going to go with the flow. No, that's all. No, it's no good. And I mean, it's all good. And so yeah, it could have been Billy or Stu. It still could have been Billy or Stu in my book. It still could have been one of them. Was it a prankster? I don't know. I mean, I don't. I just don't really see why a prankster is going to. A prankster wants to be seen, not be hidden.
Right, right.
Right? That's my thought.
Oh,
And
right, right.
okay,
Yes.
if you're just hiding, then what benefit is there for you? So,
Because
I
then
mean,
you don't get to do the "ha ha, I
yeah,
got you" moment.
yeah, you don't get the running down the hallway in the
Right,
bathroom
with
and
the
whatever,
two guys.
if that is in the but so I'm thinking like they're trying to be hidden a little bit from Sydney. They
Yeah.
don't want her to see. So that was I always thought Billy or Stu for the longest
Yeah,
time, and for
yeah,
one of
because the
those.
two pranksters running down the hall are the two
Hmm.
pranksters that Henry Winkler,
Yes,
Principal Hembry dresses
Principal
down in
Henry.
his
Yes.
office. But yeah, I felt with Tatum's house in the grocery store that Billy or Stu was keeping an eye on
Hmm.
on
Yep.
Nev's movements throughout that
Yes.
day. Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. It does. It adds up. Um, got Jack left a comment here where I thought would be great. I just saw here that would be nice to say. It's a perfect example of a scene that has such an awesome impact in the rest of the film. Yes, agreed, 100%. That bathroom scene was very, very powerful. Awesome.
Thank you,
Now,
Jack.
yeah, and my buddy Fate, who's got the Fate Decided channel, is in the Lethal Collective. He's got a question here. Would you want to be Ghostface in a Scream movie or have an epic death scene if you were to return to the franchise?
Oh my God, I would do anything. I would do anything. I'd be a dead body if they wanted to uh bring the girl in bathroom back. I know fans always say, "Oh, because you and the cheerleader didn't die, you weren't killed, you're still alive."
Mm-hmm.
They'll always say,
Yep.
and they have new theories because I haven't seen the new Scream, which I am dying to see, but I haven't. But people have new theories based on Scream 5.
Yes. Yes. I'm going to get
Uh,
to that in a little bit, actually.
yeah, so
Yes.
I've heard, because I did make my friend give me all of the spoilers, so I know
Okay.
everything that happens in the movie. I would have already seen it, but I'm living with my 85-year-old dad and my 82-year-old mom, and so I couldn't. I was too, which is well, it's been a long temporary, but I'm going to go back to
Yeah.
New York to keep acting. But I've been here, so I didn't want it with the COVID. I didn't want to
Sure.
risk getting
No.
or take them, and because they actually really wanted to see it too. But yeah, I would do literally, I would do anything if they brought me back or brought Leonora and I both
Yeah.
back for Scream 6 or 7, or even if it takes to, maybe they could bring me back when I'm 90 years old, in like Scream 20. Um, but yeah, it's been fun to hear all the fan theories now that Scream 5 has come out with
Hmm.
people. So they send me their theories, and then I'm like, well, send write to Kevin Williamson on Instagram and the two new filmmakers. I'm like to write it directly to them. Um, so yeah, but I
Yes.
would love. Oh, speaking of the Ghostface costume, and I could be wrong on this. You'd have to ask Drew Barrymore. But I feel like I read somewhere that. Do you remember when in her scene,
Hmm.
Ghostface is right there, and he turns, and she
Yep.
starts pounding him with the phone?
Yes.
Someone said that was Wes Craven dressed up as Ghostface in that moment, but then I don't. But I don't imagine he'd want to be hit over the head with a spoon. So who I
Oh
you have
wow.
to ask Drew Barrymore, but I thought that was funny if that was
That would be hilarious if that's true. Oh my
true.
gosh. Kayla says you have to come back, Nancy. We'd love to see you back on screen. Yes,
Oh,
absolutely. That would be awesome. Star Wars says Nancy's such a sweetheart. Absolutely. So cool. Oh my gosh, that is awesome. I mean, this what you've shared has been so amazing. I mean, and even talking about how, and one of my questions was for you is was did you have other interactions with other cast members? And you've already kind of alluded how you had lunch with everybody. You know, you had Henry Winkler was there, and it's just such a cool experience, right? It had to be your first being your first movie. Like what a cool. I mean, he's a legend in his own right. You know,
oh
the
gosh.
Fonz. I
Yeah.
mean,
I
it's
was like,
just
it's Fonzie.
it
I was so
is.
nervous when I first saw him before we had lunch together. He was exiting this warehouse space where we were because the high school wouldn't, the high school pulled their high school away
Yeah.
from shooting, and that's why Wes says at the end, and no thanks whatsoever to the Santa Rosa High School, something like that.
Oh, yeah, the school board.
So
Yes.
yeah, the school board. So our trailers were in a big parking lot. So Henry Winkler was exiting, and he had his principal shirt on with all the blood. And because I was so nervous that I was crossing paths with him, I was like, "Nice shirt," and then I was like, "Oh dear," I was like, "Is that
That's
all you
awesome.
can think of?" Um, but no, he of course I never knew he came from the theater background. He went to Rutgers University and was this big theater actor. I thought was so interesting. But Leonore, so the way I got to know, so I got to know, oh Lord, okay. So while that weekend while we were shooting, it was Leonora and myself and a lot of the crew. So we got to know a lot of the crew people and Wes Craven, his producing partner, the other producer, Marianne Madalena, Kathy Conrad,
Oh yeah.
Lisa Beach. So all of those people. And then, well, I hope you do an interview with Leonora because it's really probably more hers to say. She was very, I don't know what I'm allowed to say. She was very good friends.
Okay.
Well, okay.
You're
Well,
among friends, Nancy. You're among friends.
okay. She was she's mentioned this in an interview she's done,
Okay.
so I think it's okay. She was dating and living with Skeet at the time,
Ah,
pre-Scream, and then um, when yeah. When Wes kept us through the weekend in case he needed like pickup shots for the bathroom, like on a Monday, and then I flew
okay.
back. Leonora stayed because Skeet had just arrived for all of his filming.
Ah, yes.
So the day before we had lunch together, and that was really nice. And then David Arquette David Arquette strolled in, and I just remember he had on a very fancy outfit, and it was daytime. He had like on a black silk shirt, um, Maverick,
Oh yeah.
and with
Saying
like
hello. Yeah.
orange little orange and yellow polka dots, and then these black fancy pants. They they look like tuxedo pants with like an orange stripe down the opposite side. So I felt really comfortable with Leonora and Skeet, and then I was like, oh, and he's hilarious. He sat down and he was like, "Can I have some of your fries?" And he just started helping
That's
himself to the fries, and I was just like, oh my god, I was just kind of transfixed. And
yeah.
then when we then when we got back to LA, Leonora was kind of back and forth between LA and Santa Rosa, going up and visiting Skeet. Uh, but the time she would be back in LA, she was actually, they had moved to a new little house in the Hollywood Hills. And she just we did a bunch of things just as two little friends. And then let's see. At the wrap party, she included, like, everyone was at the wrap party. So Courtney Cox and everyone was paired off. Like Leonora had Skeet. Courtney at that point was with David Arquette. Rose McGowan had a boyfriend there. And I came with Julie Plec, the assistant, but I didn't come with a boyfriend. Um, so I was so nervous at first, but then I was sitting with Courtney Cox and we were eating some like hors d'oeuvres. Um, but what was fun just at that rap party was after the jazz band played, David Arquette got up and was like emceeing in the microphone. And I remember Nev doing like some fancy dancing because she used to be a ballet dancer. She wasn't doing ballet, but she was doing like sexy dancing. And Courtney Cox was started playing the drums and she put her hair in a ponytail and she's a really
Wow.
good drummer.
That's
So
crazy. I didn't know that.
so when she finished, I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're amazing!" And she was like, "No, I was really off my game tonight." So I'm paraphrasing, but I thought it was
Right.
so hilarious that she was being hard on herself. So so yeah, there was a lot of spending time at that rap party, and then when the film, and then at the premiere, and then when things went back to normal, like I went, Leonora had me over for Thanksgiving at her house with Skeet, and all my pictures are in storage, but I have a great picture of Leonora. She's a really good cook behind this huge turkey with a baster. And um, so Skeet was there. The magician David Blaine was there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do know
So
that. Yeah.
so that was a fun, it was
Wow.
again so nice. She included me, and that was because I wasn't going home for Thanksgiving that particular Thanksgiving. So that was
Hmm.
just nice and low key, and because Skeet's so down to earth and just a cool, easygoing guy, he was very easy to be with, and because Leonora was great,
Hmm.
and making that an easy thing. And then they would have parties occasionally. Um, And so Skeet would have been the one I got to know. Leonora, of course, the one I got to know the best and
Hmm.
became uh, great friends. And then Skeet, through Leonora, probably was the other cast member I got to know the best. And the only one I didn't really have, I love Matthew Lillard. I think he's so good. I think
Oh,
they're all so good.
yes.
I would have loved to have had a little time with him, but the premiere and everything was so just chaotic. And so I didn't really I ran into him after the fact of filming, and then there he is. He's so good. He's so
He's
good
so
in that
great.
scene.
Oh, it's epic. It is so epic. Yes.
And
Oh.
peer pressure.
You're
You're not going to tell my mom and dad, are you?
gonna be so
I mean,
scared.
all of his lines. You hit me with the
Yes.
phone, Dick. Someone said Someone said that Skeet didn't mean to hit him with the phone, so that when
Yes.
Matthew says that line, he's really like
Yes. It's
saying
so
that for
true.
real.
That's right. Yes, it was an accident. Ski didn't mean to actually hit him, in the head, and that was total ad lib. Matthew
Yeah,
Lillard totally ad libbed that, and Wes loved it and kept it in.
it kept
Yeah.
it. Yeah, it was yeah, so organic that
Yes.
line. I've been in Rose McGowan's house. Well, I had a friend house sitting for Rose McGowan while Rose was somewhere. So I've been in Rose. I was I'm sure she lives in Mexico, but this was an early house she was in. Uh so yeah, so probably Rose and Matthew I didn't get to know, but I think Rose does a great job. Matthew, they're
Hmm.
all those main characters, and that
Yeah.
those actors I think are so great. All of them, yeah.
Absolutely. And you included, Nancy. You included.
Oh, you know who I did
Yeah.
get to know a little bit was the initial W, Earl Brown, who played Courtney Cox's
Oh,
crew
Kenny.
guy.
He plays
Kenny, yeah,
Kenny. Yes.
he's so
Yes.
nice. I got to know him a little bit, and yeah, he's super nice, super cool, nice. Yeah, just a
Oh,
nice
that's
guy.
great.
Yeah,
Well, and I know that, and that, and you're kind of echoing what I've heard from, well, in interviews, right? From Nev and everyone, how, and there's this real family feeling. Even Jamie Kennedy, everyone talking about how on set, that there was
yeah,
this, everyone just felt they got along. It was just a great community of actors that were together. When you guys were hanging out, like you're talking about now, you're staying over and you're spending time with Skeet, and Leonora, of course, and just I don't know. It just seems like this movie. Did you feel when you were being a part of the process and learning more? How did you feel this movie was going to do in your mind? Like when you left there and you left your filming, it was all wrapped. When you went home, what did you think about this movie? Did you say this movie has real potential? Like, or what did you think about it? What may happen?
I did. I mean, from the moment I read the script, which at that time, I wish I could show my script. The title, as everyone knows, what it has a scary movie on the
Mm-hmm.
script. That's in storage. But from the moment I read it, I remember I was living in a teeny apartment with my friend in the valley, and I didn't even have a double bed at the time. I had a little twin trundle bed. But from the moment I read the script, I just, I had never read anything like it. It was so, as everyone knows, just so brilliant, innovative, clever, scary. So from the moment I read it, not that I was thinking, oh, is this going to make tons of money, but
Mm-hmm.
I thought, wow, this is amazing. Um, and then of course he got such a great cast, and everybody, all those main actors, and all the little characters, Linda Blair in her
Right.
little scene. Um, so yeah, once I saw the cast and crew screening, definitely I thought, oh wow, this is amazing. It was super, probably the most fun first viewing I had was at the premiere, because at the
Okay.
premiere it was in a huge movie theater. I took an acting friend of mine who was my roommate at the time, and he was full on, because he hadn't seen it. He was full on screaming, which was then making me. I mean, I still jump when I see it,
Yeah.
but he was full on screaming, like blood curdling screams. So then that was making me die laughing. And then the people who hadn't seen it at the premiere, it was just like a roller coaster ride of the gasps. And I think at
Yes.
the premiere, I was just like, okay, this, the audience, I could tell, was along for the ride from
Mm-hmm.
the beginning with Drew Barrymore all the way till the end. So I
Yes.
just had little tinglies and goosebumps.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't, I remember being surprised about the December 20th release date. I mean, not like, oh, why are they doing that? But I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And, uh, and then I mean, because I was still so new to LA and just trying to make my way in LA, I wasn't coming home each day thinking, I wonder how Scream is gonna do. Scream is gonna do.
Right.
It wasn't at the, because I was still scrounging and trying to pay my rent and bills,
Mm-hmm.
but but it wasn't. I wasn't surprised, just
Yeah.
because um, I just, from the premiere, from reading the script, and then especially then at the premiere, because I was just like being with a regular movie going audience in a big movie
Yeah.
theater, um yeah. And then I remember I flew home for Christmas to Alexandria, Virginia, and my my mom had gotten all our little church friends. I was raised in a Catholic church, like
Okay.
family friends. I was like, did you tell the church friends what they're about to see?
That's
Um,
awesome.
and then other friends. So we
Uh-huh.
probably took about 20 people to the multiplex, and that was super fun to see how they
Mm-hmm.
responded. Like, I have an elementary school friend who's super tall, and my dad told me that my friend Patrick had his knees up in the chair covering his face
Wow. That's
not the whole
awesome.
time.
That's so
But
good.
yeah, just hearing all of that, those funny little stories.
I
And
can imagine. And how did it feel? Oh, by the way, we got Blake wants to
Blake,
say hello again.
oh,
Great.
I'll say this is Blake. Hi, Blake. This is Blake. Blake has so many books that he's written, but this is the most recent. This got reissued, called The Within. And he's an
Oh.
amazing, uh, amazing writer and an amazing musician. So I wanted to show this one because it's the newest one.
Oh, thank you for doing
Um,
that. Awesome. Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you, Blake, for
So
joining us tonight.
people can look for him. We're Facebook friends, and also on Instagram. And he's done a bunch of conventions and doing one in Knoxville coming up this weekend. So yeah, he's
Awesome.
become a good friend, and we
That's
have the same
fantastic.
booking agent. So yeah.
Oh, cool. And thank you, Blake, for joining us. And thank you for the super chat. We really does appreciate that very much. Now, these stories are just fantastic, and I have to. Now, we talked about sequels a little bit. Now, you mentioned you saw Scream 2. Haven't had a chance to see the others just yet, but what is amazing to me is that these sequels don't happen without this movie without Scream 96 being what Scream 96 was, and frankly, it still is. I mean, this movie, I watched it recently. I mean, I watch it all the time, actually. And it's been 25 years, and that movie holds up. I'm telling you, it holds up as it did when it came out. It's incredible, and there's very few movies. You know, there's a few we could probably sit here and maybe think of, like Godfather. There's
Yeah.
a few we could talk about, but this is in that same category of. And for horror, it's really rare. Like, Halloween '78, Nightmare '84. These are some iconic movies. But Scream '96, to watch that movie now and feel just as engaged by all of you who were in that film, and how Wes shot it, and how it was just the pace, everything is a testament to from Wes to everyone involved. The entire crew, cast, and it has to feel pretty amazing, doesn't it, to be a part of that? I can't imagine what that to know that 25 years later, this movie is still being introduced to new people that are seeing it for the
It,
first time.
I just within this last when my a booking agent reached out to me this summer. It's been an avalanche. I mean, so much happened with me just personally, but it hasn't been until, for me at least, so 2021 in the summer, this booking agent was showing some interest, um, and then all these fans through being getting connected with this booking agent at the time, that opened me up Facebook friend wise to all these horror film groups.
Hmm.
Uh, it's led to all of, I mean, my Facebook friend number's gone from 800 to over 4,000. I don't count my friends, but it's all Scream fans.
Yes.
Um, and then all these interviews kind of got started at the end of October, and I have a new booking agent for conventions, and so all of this has happened so fast. So I had no idea. I always just thought conventions were for like Nev and Skeet and Matthew. I
Hmm.
never, well, I didn't. I always knew there was Comic Con. I never knew really that there was a horror film
Hmm.
convention scene. So I
Yes.
never would have imagined that there was an interest in the girl in in the girl in bathroom. So that's been a
Yes.
really a big, because all of that's just happened, yeah, since this summer forward. The only Yeah, so that's been a huge surprise and a gift, and
Hmm.
getting to meet you all, just getting to
Yes.
meet so many people through all the different interviews has been so fun. And then I've never been to a convention as a audience person.
Hmm.
uh my first one so far will be let's see, I have it in my notebook. April
Yeah.
30th and May 1st at the four, like, FOUR, like the number four,
Okay.
four state Comic Con. And then there might be some before that, but that's a definite one. And then the Tidewater Horror Convention, September 9th, 10th, and 11th. And then Maryland Pop and Horror Convention, August 27th and 28th. And there might be the Carolina Fear Fest, and one in Ohio, and some others. So
Wonderful.
I mean, I'm thrilled. I'm so
Yeah.
excited to meet everybody who loves Scream, it's a shock to me that that there's an interest in the girl in bathroom. Um,
Oh.
that that's been really that's been really special. Well, I'll just say it's been really special and helpful for me because I got out. My ex-husband was physically abusive. So many people have heard this, but he was physically abusive
Oh.
during our marriage. He and I met working
Oh.
on a movie called Charlie's Party. So when the marriage ended, I just really kind of collapsed, and that's why I came back home.
Hmm.
So having all of this Scream adventure kind of start up with the conventions has kind of renewed me,
Yes.
and so now I have
Wonderful.
more confidence to go back up to New York, and I definitely want to
Yes.
keep acting. So yeah,
Yes.
all of this couldn't have come at uh, a more helpful time for me, for sure.
Well, it's wonderful, and it's well deserved, well earned, and I mean, you are forever an iconic character of the film, and it will always be that way. It's just been such a pleasure, for you to come tonight. And as we start to kind of wrap up here a little bit, I have to ask you now, with Scream 5 having come out, I know that you have not yet seen the movie, but you may have heard the rumblings. You kind of mentioned earlier
Yeah.
a little bit about
Yes.
this.
And I
So you
and I know
probably,
all the spoilers. So
well,
yes,
that's
I
right. You
know
know the
it, so you're
spoilers.
not giving anything away to me.
Okay, good, good, good. Okay, fair enough. So then I'll just come right out with it. So
Yeah.
the main new characters, Sam and Tara. All right,
Yeah.
so we know that they're Sam Carpenter's father is Billy Loomis. So
Yeah.
Skeet Ulrich, is back, as you know, and we don't know who the father is of Tara because he left. So we don't know who that is yet.
Oh, okay.
And there's another character, Nancy, that particularly I'm seeing rumblings around social media and around YouTube. And I would literally probably be completely exiled from my channel, from my members, if I don't ask you this question. But
Yeah.
I'm dying to know the answer myself. So I would have asked it either way. But there is a character, Christina Carpenter, that is the mother of Sam, the new lead, and Tara. We don't know who this is. She never was on screen. We just know her name. We know that she slept with Billy Loomis, which, produced Sam.
Yeah.
And then whoever the original father, or the father who she thought was her father, was the father of Tara. But I'll put the fathers aside. I want to focus on Christina, the mother. Now, I'm hearing a lot of questions, and I'm already seeing here people already coming in. Ask it, Craven. You know what's coming. I have to know for right now on the record, and if you are involved, I know you probably can't say anything, but the speculation is there a chance that Nancy Ann Ritter returns to the franchise as the mother, Christina, of Sam and Tara Carpenter in Scream 6? A lot of people want it, Nancy, so I want to know, is this going to happen? Could we possibly see this happen in Scream 6?
Well, if all the fans go to not go to Kevin Williamson's house, not I mean I can honestly say not as of nothing's come, no offers come to me. Um, but yeah, if the fans go to the two new filmmakers and the new writer, um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, those two guys,
Yeah,
and
Matt and Tyler, so
yeah,
Radio Silence, and
right,
and
right,
Guy
Matt and
Busick and
Tyler,
Jared and James
yeah,
Vanderbilt, the writers. Yep.
yes. If the fans write them, just write them and write them. I've heard lots of fans have written to me and asked, would you play Sam's mom? And uh, of course I would. That means I would have had to bed down with Skeet.
This is true.
And some people are so funny. Uh, well, some people they're because I've kind of defend Nev. So some
Hmm.
people's theory is they're like, well, you're nice about Nev in the bathroom scene. Maybe it's because you feel guilty that you're uh, getting it on with Skeet. So then Skeet would be cheating on Nev. Maybe I'm feeling guilty, and that's why I'm nice in the bathroom scene. That's what fans have all thrown out there. So I would
Yeah.
be. I mean, I was super surprised when people started telling me that, and that would be super fun. And
Hmm.
oh Lord, oh no, okay, something fell down.
Oh
Something
no.
fell down behind. I was like,
Okay.
what is that? Um, no, that would be super super
Yeah.
amazing for
It would
sure.
be awesome. And there is another role too. If it wasn't Christina, there is another role that was introduced, or a character I should say, introduced in Scream 5, which is Stu Macher's sister. Was also introduced. We don't know who it is, and we only know that her son, which is Stu's nephew, died, Vince, in early in the movie. So we don't know who Stu's sister is. Now, if they turn your character into his sister, you wouldn't have been at the party, which I guess that kind of makes sense. If he's hosting his
Right,
own party, maybe he doesn't want his sister there, right? So
right.
that's
And we weren't there at the party. The cheerleader
yes.
and I weren't there. Yeah,
We're not there. That's right. So
yeah,
you guys could have been doing your own thing, you having you guys own party for the weekend or something.
yeah.
So I'm holding out hope, Nancy. We got two shots here. We've got Stu's sister and we've got Sam's mother, and I would love to see you in that role. And guys, everyone watching this now in the live chat and after it goes into replay mode, you heard Nancy. She's told us what we need to do as Scream fandom. We need to blast the social media for Radio Silence. They're all on Twitter. And Guy Busick, James Vanderbilt are on Twitter. We need to hit them up and say, hey, Nancy Ann Ritter needs to come back. She's a legacy character. She's an iconic character. Let's get her into this movie. So the creed has been issued. So I ask all of my Craven channel subscribers, everyone watching, let's go. Let's get a campaign started right now. Let's get Nancy back. I think that's what needs to happen. Needs to happen. So we're going to
But
start
what
that tonight.
it's been so I wish I could show, well, not show, but yeah, the fan theories, they'll send them and all the reasons that the girl in bathroom, all the bullet points of why it would be amazing if they bring her back as Sam's mom. And I hadn't heard about the Stu. So Sam's mom's what I've heard a bunch, but I haven't heard about the Stu. It's
Stu's
Stu's
sister.
sister. That
Yes.
that is so fun too. But yeah, all of the fans will send like very complex and intricate Nancy returns.
Yes.
Um, Reagan. So yeah, it's just super fun to read. Like they'll send me paragraphs of why it would make sense and why it could be the girl in bathrooms. So that's been super fun and very unexpected for sure. But yeah, I would do anything
Yes.
to come back for sure.
It'd be so fantastic. And Nancy, I have one last question for you, and then we're going to let folks know where they can find you on social media in just a moment. I want to ask you, and someone asked in the chat earlier, and I've been scrolling a little bit here, so apologize I don't have your name up on the screen, but you know who you are. If you mentioned your script earlier, you still have your script in storage. You mentioned that. The question was, do you have any other memorabilia from on the set from Scream? Anything else that you have?
Okay. I've been at, well, I do have a little thing here, not from the set, but I'll show it. I didn't, because I was so embarrassed about my costume, I didn't, which I think it was perfect for the girl in bathroom, but those high waisted khaki pants, I was not, I did not run to the customer and say, can I keep these? Um, so in purple, I my favorite color is dark navy blue. I like dark colors, so purple was not in my palette. So I didn't think to ask. Yeah, I didn't ask for again. The too many backpacks were mine. But I don't even know if I have the like. I didn't know. I didn't think about. Oh, I better ask to keep the stuff. Yeah, I don't even think the mini backpacks. I don't even know
Hmm.
if I have those in storage. Maybe I do, um but yeah, they you can't see in the scene they gave me purple velvet shoes that I thought were hilarious, but you can't see those
Oh,
to wear
yeah.
in the scene. But no, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't. Of course now because convention people have been saying it would be great, and fans, it would be great if I still had the costume,
Hmm.
and then if Leonora uh, that if we dressed as our characters at some of the conventions. So it wouldn't be hard. I mean, Leonora could get, if she decides she wants to do conventions, she could get a cheerleading uniform and I can
Sure.
easily replicate what the
Yeah.
girl in the bathroom wears.
Definitely.
Um,
Yeah.
so nothing, but I did love, so I got a little gift. I don't know if this is exciting for people, but right after it finished filming, they sent to me in a FedEx box. It was this really nice fleece pullover,
Wow.
and I loved that at the time because I can't remember. Yeah, let's see. Okay, so you can see go. Oh, I'm trying to do. You can
It's
see
okay.
Ghostface, and then it says
Hmm.
"Scream" above Ghostface, and then can you see a scary movie underneath, or
Oh,
or is it too
it's a little bit
too
a
too
scary
small?
movie. A scary movie. Yes, I do. Now I see it. A scary
So I
movie.
loved, well, I
Yes.
was so excited because it's a really nice fleece and a nice a zipper and another zipper.
No,
Um,
that's cool. That's nice. Very
so
nice.
I didn't, I was so, I was like, I got a gift. Cause
Yeah.
I think they gave everyone the cast and crew. So I
Wow.
was really tickled with that. And so that's I'm trying to think, that's my only keepsake. My script is in storage. Um, I have well, Yeah, that's if I were in my own apartment back in New York,
Yes.
if I had something, people have sent me, like, that Edvard Munch painting called The
Yes.
Scream.
The Scream.
People
Yes.
have given little pictures, postcards, and little pictures um, of that painting. If I have something else, I can't think of it off the top of my head.
All right.
Uh,
That script though,
yeah,
that's pretty cool though to have still have your
yeah.
original master script. That's
And I
pretty
haven't
awesome.
looked at it again with all of this interest. I hadn't, it's just been in my where I keep all my scripts. When I was in my apartment, I just kept all my scripts in a bookcase or something. So I never even I'm thrilled to have it, but again, I didn't know I didn't know there'd be I mean, I knew there's excitement about the movie, but I didn't know
Yeah.
anyone would care care about the girl in bathroom. So so I don't think I've even opened the script since I read it,
Wow.
and then when I knew I was going to be playing the girl in bathroom, I haven't cracked it open since then. So it'd be super fun to go back and see what
Yeah.
what I'm sure most of it, because it's such a great script, what got changed, and I'm sure all of it is what was on the page, making it into the movie. But it would be
Yeah.
fun to reread it just to see if there were little line changes or little things.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's
Um,
so cool. 'Cause to have like the master original script. That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I
Yeah.
don't think I've even handled it. Well, when I've moved to different apartments, I've handled it, but yeah, I don't think I've like personally handled it since
Hmm.
since 1996. So
Wow. And I have a question too. When did you film? When was that actually filmed? I know it came out in December of '96. Did you guys film that in like early '96, or do you remember like when exactly you filmed that movie? Your scenes?
so uh, so yeah, it what I remember. I think I flew home to Virginia for Easter, and I had given my well, I didn't. I had gone to the hairdresser, just on a side note, and gotten that hideous, horrible, I don't know what I was thinking, haircut. Um, so,
It's
so
not that
that was,
bad.
oh
It's
no,
not that
it's
bad.
horrible, horrid.
Oh.
Um, and then they cut the bangs, but I wish yeah, that was, except for the bangs, that was all me. And I can't believe, like, at the time, I hadn't been cast in Scream, so I didn't know. I didn't know it was going to be forever seen on screen. Whew.
I never
Um,
thought it was bad, Nancy. We know I'm
oh
on it. I
no, it's
never thought. I never looked. No, I don't think it's bad at all.
got a
No.
shelf in the back with, I mean, I've never, I don't know what I was thinking. 'Cause
Oh.
had I known I was going to be put in Scream, I'd like to think I wasn't going to make that choice. But yeah, for
Oh
East, I
goodness.
think that was Easter. So whenever Easter, what it, uh, let's see. Whenever Easter does Easter usually fall the first week in
April?
April?
Yeah, usually around the 1st of April. Yeah.
Okay, so, oh Lord, so I had that. So at the time, yeah, when I got the haircut, I was not the girl in bathroom. So I guess we might have been flown up there, maybe May. And the only reason I think May, oh no, it must have been April.
Okay.
Must have been April, because I remember Leonora. I remember when Skeet arrived to be shooting all of his scenes, and that, because I think that was the rest of all of May and June. Um, because like they
Okay.
did Drew Barrymore's scene, they did her scene first, and that only took them a week. Just, I think, even just 5 days to do Drew Barrymore's scene.
Hmm.
So in the spring of '96,
Okay.
to answer your your
Yeah.
question, and then yeah, it was amazing that they had it
Wow.
turned around and edited and
For
out
real.
less than a year. Yeah.
That is. That is. Uh, Carrie Crave Cinema says, Nancy, your acting was impactful in that scene, so it's very memorable.
Oh,
Yes.
Ca- Carrie, I love you. Thank you, Carrie Craves Cinema. I love your handle. No, thank you very much. That really actually means a lot, for sure.
Yes, Carrie is is a big supporter of the channel. She has a great website where she does movie reviews. She's reviewed all the Scream films, and it's really great writing. She's a great reviewer. She really puts her thoughts well into reviews and stuff. So later on, Nancy, I can send you a link to her
Oh yes,
website in
so
later
definitely
on.
Carrie Crave Cinema. Yeah, definitely. I'd love to read her stuff for sure.
I think you'd enjoy that for sure. All right, so before we wrap up here, last question, Nancy. Where can people find you? Tell everyone who's watching where they can find you on social media and any other thing you'd like to mention here that's coming up for you. We talked about conventions, but anything you'd like to share? Anything
Okay.
else?
Um, Before I forget, I might have some little parts in some independent films of the horror film genre, possibly. And then so my Facebook is my name. In the end credits in Scream, they left off the Eve of Anne, so it's Nancy Ann Ritter, Nancy Anne. Ritter is double D's, Ridder, not like John Ritter with the T's. Yeah, so Nancy Ann
There you
Ritter, my
go.
name for Facebook, and then the same, my name for Instagram. And I just
Perfect.
started Instagram, so that's pretty new. So I'm not very social media savvy, but I'm trying to get there.
Yeah, man, no, that's awesome. And so you guys definitely hit her up on social media. Follow her on Instagram. She's just a joy. She interacts with you. She's just been such a wonderful person. I've loved because when I reached out to her, I'm like, you just never know. You just never know. And she's been so gracious and with her time and with her communication. So yeah, please guys, everyone go follow her on Facebook and on Instagram. Stay and plug in with what she's doing because, as Nancy said, she's coming back. Nancy says, things are coming up, so you want to be hooked in. And these conventions too. She's got these conventions coming up. She talked about earlier. So if you're in those areas or within a decent driving range, go to these conventions, support them, support Nancy. It means a lot. And Jack says, have a great evening, everyone. Thanks, Nancy. It was wonderful hearing your stories. Yes, it has been such a pleasure tonight. This has been so much fun. So, guys, I think we'll end it here for now. Now, Nancy, I'm going to put you on the spot, but you don't have to answer because you and I can communicate offline afterwards, and we could talk about it in the future. But I'm planning in the month of March to do a movie watch along party live where, like, for example, you and I, we would click play and everyone in the chat and watch Scream at the same time.
Yes, yes.
And would you like to come join us for the live stream party?
I would love
Oh,
it. I would love it.
yay!
Ooh, that's
Breaking
so
news.
fun. Because
Everyone watching.
I haven't seen it with the premiere, and then when I went with my little Virginia friends, I never went. I don't think and saw it again in Los Angeles. So yeah, that would be so fun.
Fantastic. I just had to ask you right here on the fly. I'm like, I got to ask you before we go. So we will do this then, and I'll get with you on March. We'll figure out a day and time
Okay.
that'll work, and we will do a live stream, watch the entire movie together from beginning to
Oh,
end, and just have a fun time together in the chat and with each other, and it'll be so much fun. I'm excited. Thank you for
right.
accepting the offer. This is going to be great, man. I can't wait. We will definitely talk about this very soon here about that for sure. All right, well, guys, listen. I want to everyone in the chat, please give Nancy a big thumbs up, a big round of applause for being such an amazing character in the movie and such an amazing person, and that she gave her time to us tonight to relive some incredible memories and give us some insight behind the curtain to some stories we've never heard. I've never heard much of that you said, which was all new information, which was fantastic. So thank you, Nancy. Really, sincerely, I appreciate you so much, and thank you for being such an awesome character in my favorite movie. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, Stephen, for having me, and for everybody who watched this. I had a great time. So thank you, and especially Stephen, thank you.
You are so welcome. All right, guys. Well, listen, one last time. This is Steven with Craving Something Scary. If you guys have not smashed the thumbs up button, please do that before you head out. It really does help this video when it goes into replay mode. It's going to help more Scream fans find out this amazing interview with Nancy and get to hear these incredible stories. So smash that thumbs up button before you head out. And if you haven't subscribed, just take 2 seconds and hit that subscribe button so that I can continue to bring you more amazing content like this about Scream, and we'll just keep it rolling. So until next time, everyone, this is Craven Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. We'll catch you guys next time. Thanks, Nancy.